Immortal Unchained is an upcoming Souls-like game that takes the focus away from melee combat and puts guns front and centered. The range combat focus in Immortal Unchained is not your traditional free-aim shooter, but has an enemy lock-on system that snaps to your targets in order to effectively focus on damaging different body parts, not too dissimilar to the game The Surge. This combat system is less about the precision spacing of your strikes and more about timely use of your dodge to avoid harm while laying down fire during openings. This very much reminded me of the lock-on style combat from ReCore, which I actually didn't mind, and also somewhat similar to Metroid Prime's strafing-based combat. The stamina system in place here, however, slows it down from just being spray and pray and ties your actions to the system that dictates how much you can attack and dodge, as well as managing the correct time to reload, because if you dodge out of it to avoid an attack, it stops it outright. This makes you have to be constantly conscious of your stamina meter, the enemy's oncoming attacks, and your ever-depleting weapon magazine. There is, however, a melee weapon you have on you, but it functions not too unlike a standard melee bash in a traditional first-person shooter and is often only viable to finish off weakened foes. All weapons require ammo that can be used freely up until you either reach an obelisk, die, or run out of ammo altogether. This forces you to pick the right tool for the job and save your better guns for the tougher enemies ahead. Every weapon also has an alternate fire that uses up your energy resource, which is your heaviest hitting attacks, but must be used with care. Striking different body parts in Immortal Unchained can be much more effective at certain times than just going for headshots. You can stagger a foe by focusing his legs or blast that annoying weapon right off his arms. You wouldn't think that locked-on range combat with a Souls influence would work, but mostly all enemies have well-telegraphed range attacks, and dodging oncoming gunfire is just as satisfying as a well-placed evade of a flailing Souls enemy. This also introduces an interesting, I don't know if I want to say fix, but in many games of this style, if you really wanted to, you can often just run straight through open areas of enemies quite easily, which makes you reconsider the whole point of fighting things to begin with. In this game, however, enemies will target you from a distance and unleash a much harder to avoid barrage of bullets. This makes sprinting through areas actually far less effective than any of the other Souls clones out there. The combat is looking solid enough in Immortal Unchained, and many people think what makes a great Souls-like game is nailing down that methodical, challenging combat above all else. But I would argue it's actually a 60-40 in favor of intricate and interesting level design that begs to be explored that makes that franchise so great, even more so than its combat system. We have yet to see any Souls clone come anywhere close to nailing this important aspect, and we'll see if Immortal Unchained can diversify its areas enough to keep us interested for the entire journey. This has been Deadite from Boomstick Gaming, and thanks for watching.